Yo. Got a day before the season starts. Thought it'd be a good time to drop this video. This is going to be covering the Brewmaster guide that I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. I've played many tanks, many seasons. I can say this is by far the most fun I've had on any tank, and I've played it since Legion. It's like spot on design the way I'd envision Brewmaster, and so I'm excited to cover this. In this video, we're mostly going to be covering advanced stuff about the class relative to this season. There's a lot of new changes about the spec, so if you're like me, played Brewmaster every season, I think you'll realize there's a lot of new stuff with the class, so we'll be trying to cover that. This tank is definitely no joke though. If you played it before, you'll realize I feel like it's more difficult than it's been in the past. But I think it's a really good time to log on your brew. I think it's still a top contender for meta tank this season, just my personal opinion. But yeah, let's just hop right into the positive and negatives of Brewmaster. Okay, so number one, I think it's the most damage tank, sustained damage profile. Another one is it's the most efficient tank to receive heals on, primarily HOTS type healers. I know a lot of people find this kind of a double-edged sword where, you know, oh, I think we've had many seasons of just healers just ignoring the tank, but coming from me, I've healed many seasons. There's just a lot of globals that, you know, tank healing is just relevant. Healers that have been meta, all healers have sort of these tank healing globals, as we call them, and it's not asking for much, and we'll show you that in the VODs. But it also feels very in control of its life. Another positive, very stable and best against tank busters. I think it's a super mobile tank, fast at gathering and no tank issues, which also has a double-edged sword. I think it's on the negative side. You see I have worse gathers in the game and you have to run through the mobs. Another positive is just the raid buff, 5% physical damage buff. And then another positive is the unique utility, Ring of Peace, Statue, and Monk Taunt. I think a lot of mechanics this season, ROP and Statue are going to be extremely good for. I think of like the dogs in Priory that put a bleed on you. You can put a statue out, as long as the group is within like melee range and the statue's farther, the bleeds will jump onto your statue instead of your teammates. ROP is really good at preventing mechanics like these as well. And then the Monk Taunt, this is a little clip it from Halls of Atonement, and everyone knows this boss got a lot harder. And so this Monk Taunt actually will make a mechanic like this a lot easier. So you see this parishioner picks an ally, and it's going to be pulsing damage on the group. The longer it's out, the more damage it does. And so getting it into the lantern as soon as possible is very good. So this is a good example of Monk Taunt being very unique and super nice. Like it ticked maybe twice and it went in, right? So that is positive, right? I think these are very unique utils that are underrated and undervalued. A lot of people won't mention it, but these are good stuff, right? Finishing off the negatives, you have, you know, worst gathers in the game. Everyone will probably say this is a annoying thing about the class. It's not like oh, it's unplayable. It's just annoying, and we'll show you that in the videos as well. It's reliant on a healer, perfect for our druid. But you know, if you want to say it's a negative, it's reliant on a healer in some ways. And I'm gonna also cover it's a lot less reliant than people think. I think a very big misconception is how reliant it is of a healer. Okay. Another negative is it takes the highest level of coordination. I think between all the tanks, it probably needs the most coordination. Bear as well. I think Bear and Brew are like the two highest coordinated needed tanks. And then another thing that people put is it doesn't synergize well with many classes, aka the phys comp we keep hearing about. I think this is also kind of a misconception. I don't think it's like a end all be all. Oh, I'm playing Brew, so I must play with Feral, Outlaw, Rogue, Warrior, Hunters. You know, very few classes are fully physical. I think Havoc right now with Eldrachi is like half physical, and it benefits pretty well from the 5%. But I also think that you don't need to stack a full Fizz comp to play with Brew. My top Brew comp includes a Havoc Shadow Priest Mage. I just think that in the current meta, Brew is just that much further ahead in terms of damage and tankiness that I think it warrants that, you know, you don't have to play a full Fizz comp. You can just play the best classes. And the better classes still will be happy with that comp, right? Like if I'm a Shadow Priest, I'm still getting Mage buff and Havoc buff. That's 6%. And the Mark of the Wild from the healer, that's 9%. So Shadow Priest and Mage are very happy with that comp. At the end of the day, tank big damn, tank live, and your time in the key, right? My next negative is melee range kick. I think, personally, I think all melee should have the DH and DK range kick, you know, the 10-yard. There's just a lot of scenarios where like you might have to go for a kick and there's a mechanic really stopping you or being in your way, right? So this is a negative. And another big negative is it needs gear. It's a very high scaling tank and your agility equals DR, so needs gear. Like it will not feel good to play this tank until you're scaled into, you know, end game gear. So let's go into Shado-pan versus Master Harmony, because that's like the main thing about this video. So Master Harmony pros, very high self-sustain. In comparison to Shado-pan, its self-sustain is almost, I would say, double. It's kind of ridiculous. This one will need a lot less healing from your healer than the Shado-pan will. It's the highest single target tank in the game, very bankable damage, good for damage amps. And so I have this image to show that. This is on Big Mama, and prove the first point, highest single target tank. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Our Havoc was dead on this pull, but I don't have like a full video to show you guys, but this is like, you know, kind of the idea is bank your damage. Oh, it's a burn phase, now send your damage. And so that's the specialty of Master Harmony. Very nice. The off healing is very high. This comes from in the form of your Chi Burst is super high heal. And in the form of your tier set, which we'll also cover. You get to take special delivery, which is kind of nice. In a lot of these keys, you have little mobs that like to run away. Halls of Atonement, Gambit. The slow would be really nice to be able to take, and Master Harmony is able to take special delivery. Freedom to take Oxyance, Breath of Fire, just better against bosses. You're gonna see there's more freedom in your talents for Master Harmony than Shado-pan. The cons are turns your main defensive into an offensive ability, so your Celestial Infusion becomes a main part of your damage, and so you'll see a lot of the cases where it's not something like on a boss fight that I'm gonna like wait until I'm gonna get hit, you know, unless I absolutely have to, you know. It is a con. A lot less AoE than Shado-pan, ends up using things suboptimally on pull just for threat. Example of this, you know, you're gonna use your Exploding Keg even though you don't have 5-stack buff, and we'll cover the talents, right, and why it equals being suboptimal. But using your Exploding Keg suboptimally or your Chi Burst suboptimally, just because in the theme of holding threat, definitely sucks as a con. It becomes a 2-minute class. Your weapons is a 2-minute and your Ox is a 2-minute, and it really becomes a 2-minute class. I would view that as a con, as you'll see in Shado-pan will be much different. More susceptible to getting caught off guard. I find Master Harmony, if you're not already experienced on Brew, you will be caught off guard on your first attempts on certain keys. Once you get that experience and once you get that feeling of where the damage is coming from in certain keys, this is not going to be an issue anymore. But in terms of like Master Harmony versus Shado-pan, you're not going to get caught off guard in the same way. and we'll show you that as well. Mostly magic damage now, kind of wants havoc in the group. I view this as a con as well. It turns like about half of your damage will end up being magic now. So yeah, that's kind of a negative. Very hard to learn master Feely crafting tank. So what I keep telling people about this tank is, even through a coaching session, even after watching this video or any other videos, it's the most Feely crafting tank. You really need to get hands on, feel the dungeon, feel the damage you take, feel your stagger out, all that stuff. So it's very hard, and you need time to be put into master, versus I think other tanks, you know, I think about I picked up VDH in only a few days. I think Prot Warrior takes only a few days. This tank will take a bit of time in comparison to other tanks for sure. Bear takes a day, right? So here we go into Shado-pan. Best AoE tank pro. This is like without a doubt. Could show videos of it later, but the consistent AoE is super nice. Your woo, your weapon's order, becomes like a 1-minute 20-ish cooldown. Really good with the new Nether Prism trinket, where you can just use the on use. It's a 20-second on use while your weapon's a 30-second window, and it doesn't matter how it lines up, whether it's a minute 20, a minute 30, 2-minute. You'll always line up the trinket with woo, and it's great with threat. Great. Sturdier and more stable. So what you're gonna realize is sturdier and more stable when I cover, we're gonna be hopping on the game here in a second. I'm gonna cover how it's more sturdier and stable than you know, Master Harmony. Basically the main difference is this is sturdier while the other one's more self-sufficient and healing. So like, you know, Master Harmony, I'm doing 7 mil HPS on a pull, and Shado-pan I'm doing 4 mil HPS, but both equals me ending the pull healthy. So in the form of this will take less damage and need less healing. The other one will take more damage but do more healing, ending up resulting in, you know, very minimal healer help between the two. But for Shado-pan, in the cons, I put way more dependent on a healer. There will be eventually a time in a pull, normally around 40 seconds into a pull, woo falls off, your budget of brews are falling off. Now I'm going to start needing healing. For Master Harmony, you don't really have this window of weakness as bad, as you have much more budget of Celestial brews, and you feel that you don't have this window happen. So I think this is just something that will be felt by the healer, communicated by the tank, that, you know, eventually you'll get to the point where the healer will understand, like, oh, at this point in a pull I might need to start healing my brewmaster. Again, touching on that misconception that a brew needs healing all the time, I guarantee you I'd be doing in PTR, I was doing like 19s and 20s, and I don't need any healing for the first 30-40 seconds of any pull on Shado-pan or Master Harmony. And most of the time, if my Resto was healing me, they're just sniping my own and keeping me at 100% health when I don't need it. But it is always nice, like I said, the tank is the most efficient, right, efficient tank to receive heals on. So, you know, if they're just tossing dead globals on you and putting life bloom and FO down, or, you know, I'm a preservation evoker putting reversions on you, it's just nice. It's not bad, but necessary, no. I've had pulls where the healer dies and I'm self-sufficient for another minute, right? But anyways, we go into the other stuff. Better on gathers Shado-pan than Master Harmony, just because rushing Jadewind is very nice, just going through the mobs. Your keg smashes hit harder on Shado-pan, so your gather is just generally going to be nicer on Shado-pan. Simpler rotationally, easier to learn. So the main difference, Master Harmony, you're going to have more choice with how you use Blackout combo in AoE. In Shado-pan, it's just going to be Blackout kick into keg smashes most of the time, or really all the time. For Master Harmony, you have a lot more choice with how you use that Blackout combo, and you really want to weave in those Tiger Palms, even to the point where sometimes you'll be almost sitting on 2 keg smash charges. So easier rotationally. Like if you're traditional with Brewmaster, you've played it before, you're gonna easily hop into Shado-pan and pick it up very easily. Less prone to getting caught off guard, baseline tankiness. So just like we covered it the sturdier, and I'll be showing you in the game the talents, that you are just much less prone to getting caught off guard with this side of the hero tree. So the rest of the cons are definitely strap for GCDs and woo windows. I don't want to use my sweep. I don't want to use my ring. You will if you have to, but it really sucks if you have to, because you could drop your against all odds buff. 20% agility, right? Very, very, very cringe to drop this buff. Also cringe pre-key setup. Shado-pan likes to set up the wisdom buff properly, and even at the end of some pulls set it up properly. So this is definitely a con, I think, if you want to consider something bad for Shado-pan, but you will, if you end up playing Shado-pan, you will end up doing this in serious keys, just doing this pre-key setup. Less flexibility in talents, which we'll show right now after I'm done with this. We'll hop on the game. No Ox Stance, Anvil and Stave, Breath of Fire. You just have like no flexibility in your talents. There's only like really one build you can play with Shado-pan. But, you know, I put a little cute thing here at the end. It's way too fun. You won't want to log on to anything else. It's a con. Anyways, let's see. Let's show my video game screen here. Right. So, we got Shado-pan pulled up first. Not going to cover a lot of the basic stuff like you see. You know, I'm not going to cover like shuffle, stagger, whatever, how to get your orbs and heal, right? The main difference, commonly asked question first, would be special delivery and rushing Jadewind, right? As you see in this breakdown, 3% rushing Jadewind. And something that you'll see in this other breakdown, which I'll pop up right now, you'll see in this one, we have special delivery doing 7.5%, a really high number. So what we're gonna end up seeing and covering with this decision here is that in Shado-pan you take rushing Jadewind versus Master Harmony to proc your new Walk with the Ox. So this stomp damage amounts to, generally the number you're looking for is 8 to 10% depending on the key, and we see here the stomp was 7%. It'll seem like a lower number for Shado-pan because you're doing so much AoE damage in a key like Gambit or Floodgate, right? But generally the number is about the same. Let me turn off the sound. So we have, you know, the decision here is that special delivery might do more damage than rushing Jadewind and be one less global to press, right? However, it's proccing your stomp damage, and in Shado-pan, to max out your stomp damage from Walk with the Ox, you will need rushing Jadewind. So like, you know, I'm taking my damage in terms of rushing Jadewind being taken and the global being pressed, but the stomp is going to be a lot higher now. For Master Harmony, however, you have a lot more dot damage, which you'll see when I take that build. We'll cover that later. So that's the decision there with rushing Jadewind and special delivery. New talent here with Zen State. Effectiveness of your staggers increased by up to 20% based on your missing health. So I believe it's maxed out when you're below like 40%, 50% health, but 20% more effective stagger when you're already staggering about, you know, look, it's 80% right here when I activate shuffle. In combat, this is 83, 85%. Like it's basically maxed out. A lot of people don't know staggers max out 85% of its value. So we're at that scaling point at the end of an expansion here where a brewmaster is really reaching capped on stagger effectiveness. So this still is a very good talent, and you get additional value out of it from 85%. Let's say I have 85%, then you're getting 20% more. It's not like 105% stagger now, right? It's 20% more. What would it be, 16% more then, right? Anyways, continue on. why we don't take Nijao's Resolve. From my testing, there's just better talents to take. In this case, it's Tranquil Spirit. I think Tranquil Spirit, when you pop your Expel Harm, you're getting, you know, 30% if it's 5 ores plus Expel Harm. It's basically half of a Purify, if not more, which is really nice because generally you're pressing your Expel Harm in between having any purifies up, right? Oh, I have 0 purifies, I'm 5 seconds away from my next one, I'm gonna Expel Harm, and basically, you know, gives you that window of purifying. Nijao Resolve, however, hasn't really seen much value. When I look at my healing breakdown between when I took it or not, it's not like my healing orbs did a lot more. It was basically the same. If, you know, didn't seem like much overhealing involved either between the two. So that covers that. I think let's see what else we have here. We have a big thing is high tolerance and training in Nijao. Other tanks, so other tanks have very low value of high tolerance. I value these very highly. So this is essentially like 10% haste when you're in red stagger, 4% more effective staggering. Basically it's like 4% DR is how I view it. And training Nijao is basically 15% mastery, which is a lot of damage, by the way. 15%. Look at my mastery at 21%. I'm getting 22% attack power, right? So 15% mastery is exceptional. Also giving you a lot of dodge and defensive stats. So something I wanted to show was you know, tank sims. You'll see in this we have tank sims. So they don't have data on Brew, and it's normally hard to have this correct because it's not like you can sim as if you're tanking a boss, and you know, you're not getting counter strike procs which double your tire palm damage. Whenever you dodge, you get counter strike proc. It's not calculating having red stagger where you're getting that 10% haste, 15% mastery, right? If you had a sim without those buffs, I'm sure it's going to look middle of the pack. But with all those things considered, I'm saying that it's the top single target tank in the game. So let's go back into the game. You know, I covered counter strike. It's a big part of your damage. Being able to blackout kick into tire palm is 100% more tire palm damage, 100% more tire palm damage, 100% more tire palm damage. All these things add up to clapping bosses for 10 million damage with a backhand, right? Pretty cool. So we got another thing is something I also wanted to drop is that, you know, some tanks like you saw on that sim sheet, Bears and Prot Warrior, rely on not really tanking the boss, right? Like they Bears cat weaving, and Prot Warrior wants to be in battle stands and use all its rage for damage. So it kind of pairs well with a Brew that's like, hey, I want to hold the boss more and do more damage by holding the boss. It gains damage by holding the boss, while some other tanks lose damage by holding a boss. And you see it a lot in PTR as well. Brewmaster is basically taking full like raid build, like tanky build in these keys. And I think a lot of bait, you know, information is out there where like a tank is doing like a lower key, like an 18 on PTR, and they're running like glass cannon builds, like a Prot Paladin running full damage or a Prot Warrior running full damage. And it's just not realistic to like how it'll look in a real high key with how they would take their talents as well, or trinkets, or, you know, how they would play the class is different, right? With Brew, it's just scalable. I'm gonna run the same stuff. I'm gonna run an 18 to 19 to 20. It doesn't matter. So we have also, I wanted to cover, you know, a lot of the min maxes within this class. We have Nijao min max, we have Wu min max, and we have Exploding Keg min max. I'll just cover the Exploding Keg first. So when you send this thing, half of the damage is the initial hit. The other half is if you use that 3-second window properly. So spinning, I think twice normally is gonna like just give you basically double the damage of this Exploding Keg. In breakdowns, this will look like, you know, 3% of my overall, and then another 3% of my overall is the second portion. It should look that way. If it doesn't, it's because you're not spinning while Exploding Keg is on the mob. the next min max I'll cover is like how to utilize your aux. If you remember this in the past, when you purified, the Nijao stomp damage was relative to how much you purified. Now it's just when you purify, he stomps, and that stomp damage is always the same number, other than like if you're in a trinket or woo window, you're doing more damage with woo, right? So it doesn't matter if I'm purifying at 1% stagger or 400% stagger, it will stomp and it will do damage. So you want to really min max your woo window where you have 12 seconds of an aux out into Nijao after the 12-second window is up. That gives you 37 seconds of an aux. Woo lasts 30, but the debuff that you're applying with woo, where you're doing 32% more damage, lasts 10 seconds. So really weapons window of damage amp is 40, right? So you're really wanting to min max that 37-second window of having an aux, and how you use your purifies to do damage. So what's really cool about this is your purifies end up being a damage cooldown. Whether you're Shado-pan or Master Harmony. In Master Harmony, your Celestial Infusion becomes a damage cooldown as well, which we'll cover in a minute. But to cover the min-max of woo, it's essentially you want to stack up your woo to 4, right? Now I'm doing 32% more damage, and now I look to use my Black Ox Brew. So you'll see in a lot of the videos where I'm doing big damage is I'll stack up this through 4 keg smashes, right? And then I want to dump all my purifies, right? 2 purifies and celestial, and dump all my energy into using the Black Ox Brew into dumping purifies and keg smashes again. This will proc flurries, this will proc a lot of stomps, and this will proc at having 32% damage amp on the mobs. So that's how you want to min max woo, and how you min max Nijao. I think another smaller min-max I would want to cover is in tankiness. There's ways that, you know, a lot of people understand how you purify and use your celestial infusions, right, for tankiness. But on the advanced side as well, you want to use your exploding keg and sweeps as breathing windows, I call them, where it's like, I'm going to let my stagger tick down. I don't want to use my purifies yet. I utilize these windows, even if it's like I'm not really holding exploding keg, it's like I know I'm going to use it, so I'm going to use it and use that window of letting my stagger tick down, right? It's breathing windows. And you'll see this relevant in really hard pulls. Like if you're pulling 20 mobs, this 3-second breathing window is very important. Your sweep is another breathing window where it's 3 seconds of breathing. You could also use Ring of Peace where it's another 5 seconds of breathing. Just these breathing windows are very important. Also, another one is that Todd, when you Todd a mob, you don't have to execute the mob. So the second you see a mob is, I believe, below 35 or below 15. Yeah, it's below 15. So they have to be low, but it will clear all of your stagger. Okay, so I use it as in a lot of the harder pulls. I'll look for that, you know, prio target that's low or first target that's low. And even if I have purifies available, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna use the Todd to clear my stagger and save those purifies for later. So that covers a lot of the min-max I wanted to do with the class. But in terms of Shado-pan, the main difference between Shado-pan and Master Harmony will come in the form of sturdiness in Shado-pan and AoE damage versus single target damage and self-sustain. So in Shado-pan we have 10% DR, basically 100% uptime. When you dodge, you just have 10% DR. And then in the form of agility, you know, 10 to 20% agility is a lot of DR. Also dodge, right? You're also getting this 10% haste here. So in the form of stats, you're getting haste, you're getting agility, and you're getting DR, but also you're getting dodge. This is like 7% to 8% dodge when the dodge buff is up. Also your mastery is also dodge and attack power, and then the rest of the buffs here is damage. But another thing that I wanted to cover with Shado-pan that's kind of a new mechanic, I mean it's not new but new-ish if you haven't played Brewmaster to the date, is that your weapons of order gets reduced by energy spending right? So that's where you result in having weapons on 120 to 130 instead of the normal 140 cooldown. So it's very nice to be paired well with the Nether Prism trinket, where you can just kind of use it whenever you use your weapons, right? So in the form of having the DR through stats, it's extremely nice for Shado-pan. For Master Harmony, you get the form of self-sustain. So let's go into my Shado-pan, or no, my Master Harmony build here, and we'll cover Master Harmony build. So immediately you'll notice the talents change. First, I'll go over the talents before I go into the Master Harmony. So you're able to take Breath of Fire now, and when you Breath of Fire, when you keg smash, you reset your Breath of Fire, and then based on your stat, you're doing more damage with Breath of Fire. This amounts to generally like 5% of your overall for 3 talents. Not that much, but you're able to take Special Delivery now, which will amount in more damage, and you're still gonna cap out on your Walk with the Ox damage value while not having to take Rushing Jadewind. And how that is because you have Breath of Fire damage and the dot. Also, you're gonna have Coalescence, which is a dot on the mobs. 10-second window. Basically, there's just more ticking damage on the form of Master Harmony that allows you to take Special Delivery, and Walk with the Ox will do more damage anyways, which I'll show in the video in a sec. But it's super nice as well because you use a lot of brews. You have an extra Celestial Infusion, so Special Delivery gets more value in the form of Master Harmony, especially with Anvil and Stave, which I also view as a damage talent. This talent actually does amount to damage because you get more Purifying Celestials. One of the main things with Master Harmony, like I said, the 2 main things is you get a second charge of Celestial Brew, and your Purifies will purify for more. You'll also realize that you will be doing more healing and damage when you use your Celestial Brew. So you want to treat your Celestial Brew. You can see 40% damage here with how Vitality works, and 20% more damage here if they have the dot on them from Celestial Brew being active. So when you have these active, you treat your Celestial Brew as a damage window, 10-second damage window essentially, right? With these combined, your Chi Burst is doing 100% more damage from this talent, and you want to combine it with Balanced Stratagem. So basic rotation, I'm going to be, opening with the normal keg smashes, blackout into keg smash, blackout into tire pump, whatever it is. And after 5 physical abilities, now my Chi Burst is 25% more damage, and that is a major hit, right? You also want to pair this Balanced Stratagem into a bigger Exploding Keg, which is fire damage. So your Exploding Keg will be 25% more damage, but between the 2, Exploding Keg and Chi Burst, it needs to be paired with Celestial Brew. Needs to. Like, if you don't, you're just missing out on so much damage. And another big key component of this side is your Blackout Cakes and Tire Palms, Ryan Set Cakes cleave. And you'll notice with the tier set for Master Harmony, you want to be using a lot of Tire Palms and cleaving, right? So this side gets a little bit more confusing if you are not playing it a lot, and it's actually very hard to go between the 2. Like, I'll say when I play Shado-pan key and go into Master Harmony, like, dang, I'm fucking up rotationally. So it's very hard to get in the mindset for Master Harmony because you really want to be using Tire Palms more. Even in AoE, you're going to be Blackout Tire Palming. Versus always the answer for Shado-pan is always blackout into keg smash, right? So yeah, we got that covered. I'll cover the tier set. I didn't cover Shado-pan, so I'll get into that too. But essentially, when you use Celestial, you'll get 2 buffed Tire Palms with Harmonic Surge. And Harmonic Surge just makes your Tire Palm deal a big fat like wave of damage that will cleave, split into enemies, but also heal your allies. You also can randomly proc this. So at any moment, I use a Celestial Brew, I get 2, but I also can randomly proc and now I have 3. And you can bank this for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, I think, somewhere around that line. And it's like really good single target, right? So your Tire Palm, like I give you an example, when I Tire Palm on a boss, it can crit for 10 million, and then the Harmonic Surge can crit for 8 million. Like, it's just fat damage Tire Palms, right? so that covers this one. I wanted to show Shado-pan. So to cover the changes they did to Brewmaster recently, I wanted to cover the nerfs. So the tier set still shows the old nerf or the old changes. So they changed this flurry strike deals 20% more damage. I wanted to say this because this does not impact your shadow flurry strikes. If you look at my breakdown, shadow flurry is basically all the damage that, I mean, 26% of 30, right? This 20% has only been impacting this portion right here. So that 20% is getting nerfed to 10 is not really nerfing Brewmaster at all because it's not touching the shadow buffed. But the third part of the nerf that you see in the notes was the shadow buff is nerfed by 20%. That hits us, right? So if you look at my overall and it's nerfing us 20% of 26 is gonna be about 5% of your overall. That's the biggest hit that we get. The other nerf was portioned out to your flurry charge generation being increased by 50%, drops to 30. This does not impact you at all because the number right now is 10 million damage and you get to 10 stacks of flurry strikes. If you just play normally, like one Kex Smash, you're gonna already have max flurry strikes, especially in AoE. So that doesn't really impact us at all. I think so. Basically, the two of the three nerfs do nothing, but the third nerf definitely is around 4 to 5% nerf to the class. For Shado-pan, does not affect Master Harmony, which I think is going to be extremely good in raid, or extremely good in keys like Dawnbreaker and Streets, where the single target and boss damage matters more. So yeah, definitely want to be able to play both if you're to play Brewmaster this season. Yeah, let's see, we got some videos to look at now that we've covered basically everything. Stats. So crit verse is generally what you want the most of. I would say I have actually too much haste, as you have a lot of haste built into the kit already, right? 10% here, 10% here, right? You get a lot of haste built into the kit. So haste is pretty low value. A lot of verse and a lot of crit. Crit is exceptional because of this. Where is it? We have the more you heal a brew, the more, yeah, right here. When you heal the brew, let's say I get healed for 10 million, I have a chance based on my critical strike to be healed an additional 70%. So this amounts right here as my top heal, right? It shows up in my healing, not the healer's healing. But this 500 million is basically my druid healed me, and this is my crit amounting to this much healing for me, myself, right? This will be 0 if I'm just getting no healing at all for my healer though, right? So crit's very good, very high value. I think that covers the stats, but we wanted to go over some videos here now that we've covered most of the differences between the classes. So again, this is a Master Harmony single target. On bosses like the first boss of Ecodome, you can see how good Master Harmony is. This just covers, you know, wanted to show you guys, not the video since I didn't have it, but played a lot of Shado-pan the recent weeks since they fixed Shado-pan recently. I got to play it a lot and it was just so much fun. So all I've got here is just two, you know, screenshots of Master Harmony single target. You can see it's just very good. It was like 4 mil single target, consistent with every boss. And that was actually at lower eye level too. I think that was at 710 rather than 723. So I think Master Harmony probably will be ridiculous numbers if I got to play it. So here's Master Harmony. I wanted to show kind of the tankiness of it. Boss on a 19 Halkias. I believe this is pre eye level as well, 710. But this tank kit, I played on my VDH. I cheated to this on an 18 on my VDH without like Fell Dev or Fiery Brand, right? On my Paladin, I actually died, even though I had Consecrate and Shield Righteous up and Spell Block. So basically Natty tanking this on my Paladin, but without an active like Ardent Defender or something, right? Which is hard to have every single time this guy slams. I think Paladin will actually have windows of not having something, so it's kind of a problem. But for Brewmaster, as long as you have a Celestial Infusion up, your health bar will just look not move at all. Like I'm just full HP, not even remotely scared of a tank buster. So that's one of the specialties for Brew in general, whether it's Master Harmony or Shado-pan. It's going to be very stable against tank buster hits. But also, let's see if we can see a proc here. When I have Tire Palm here, right, it's glowing. That's Master Harmony buffed. Whenever I do Blackout Kick into Tire Palm, that Tire Palm can hit for 6 to 7 mil outside of Woo. It'll do like 10 mil inside of Woo if it crits. But the Master Harmony is always going to be consistent of like 4 mil to 6 mil hit right here. Ready? So we have a Blackout Kick into a Tire Palm. So you can see that number there, 6 million. Like, it's just ridiculous numbers whenever it's up. So I can do another right now. It's just up again. Tire Palm, Blackout into Tire Palm right now if I wanted to, right? Blackout into Tire Palm, boom, 6 million again. Like, you're just destroying bosses with Master Harmony. Like, the numbers, like I said, 4 million was like 7-10 eye level. I did not get to play this at max eye level, so I'd love to, you know, tempt it now. But you also see here's the buff, what it looks like. 30 seconds is, so before when I said it was 30 to 40, it's definitely 30, and it's you can stack this to like 6. I believe 6 is max, but it could be higher. I know for a fact it's at least 6 though, because I banked 6 before on Mama. So you could have like 6 Tire Palms banked and ready to go on like a Mama burn. You can see how much damage it hits for, right? And you would just pop the fuck off, right? Single target's super nice. Here's a good breakdown for the Master Harmony. So you'll see Special Delivery definitely doing really good numbers. Overwhelming Force doing really good numbers as long as you are Tire Palming and Blackout Kicking in AoE. That's what this Overwhelming Force is the AoE from Blackout Kick and Tire Palms, right? And you can see Breath of Fire damage and Exploding Keg. Again, like we covered, Exploding Keg will be much less if you're not spinning afterwards. As well as you'll see Harmonic Surge. This number I've seen in AoE be a lot lower for other brews because they're just not used to that, like, let me dump all my Tire Palms in AoE, right? It's just so different, and it's definitely part of Master Harmony's kit when you're, you know, playing in AoE. And the AoE is not bad, it's just not Shado-pan, and you're gonna really rely more on your niche out damage and stomps, which is now a 2-minute cooldown. You'll pair with your weapons of order every single time, right? And again, Chi Burst min max is gonna be important, but it's hard, like I said in the cons, it's hard to really optimize everything on Master Harmony side while maintaining aggro. It's like you're gonna need an Exploding Keg early, you're gonna need a Chi Burst early, and it's not going to be like, oh yeah, I stacked up 4 stacks of Woo, stacked up 5 stacks of doing physical damage before using my magical damage ability, right? So it's really hard to just line up, but it is super nice to be able to take Special Delivery, right, and still have the stomp damage be 9%. Because for Shado-pan side, you can't do this. You don't have the, you know, Aspect of Harmony dot, you don't have Breath of Fire dot that's making these stomps proc more. You're gonna be able to take Special Delivery. So you get a lot of different breakdowns between Master Harmony and Shado-pan, but they're both very good in their own way. So fast forward in this video a little bit. Let me turn off this. And you'll see, like I said before, my healer dies here, and we'll just be able to look at the self-sustain of Master Harmony on a 19, you know, pulls, which this pull is doing a lot of damage. You have a set of dogs hitting you here and a lot of the little guys. So when JB dies his shoe, he gets shot and casted on, he's gonna die. Unfortunate. Rip bozo. And you're gonna hop into watching the self-sustain of Brew here. So every time I purify, you're gonna notice my health bar just go to full. And I think in a moment like this, you'll be like, okay, I'm not gonna be greedy, use my Ox and use all my brews and my Black Ox brew offensively right now. The thought is, okay, now I have to space out my stuff here, right? And right now I have 1.5 charge of Celestial. So what you don't want to do as a Master Harmony is use your Black Ox brew without bottoming out your energy and bottoming out your Purifying Celestials. So you'll probably see me here use my brews and my energy. Boom, both are used, bottomed out completely. What you'll notice with some brews is they'll use this Black Ox brew when Purify is 0 stacks, but it's like 2 or 3 seconds up from your next stack. By bottoming out, I mean completely use that last stack and it's like a fresh CD completely. So right now you'll see how Keg Smash, I use all my energy and I'm in a Black Ox brew. Boom. I had 40 energy, used that Keg Smash. I was at 0 energy, 0 purifies, 0 celestials. Now I use the Black Ox brew, and you know, now our budget's super nice again. And you know, oh, my healer's back now. I'm doing 4 million HPS. I'm still super chilling for a long time. I don't need a heal. He could have been gone for another 30 seconds. I'd still be fine. Yeah, major thing about the class right there, I use my Celestial again, and I have another Celestial already back up. So with Master Harmony, you have this very spaced out and like, you know, you're just very, very self-sustaining versus Shado-pan. You might have struggled a little bit without your healer and probably would have needed to like ring a piece and like walk away from the mobs. But you're sturdier as Shado-pan. You're just like less prone to one shots or being caught off guard. We also see here I have 6 stacks of Chi Harmony. So again, I'm not really Tiger Palming right now, and I really should be, because I've used a lot of Celestial infusions and I just haven't been Tiger Palming right now. There's an Expel Harm. Watch this Purify. This is a good example. When I use this Purify, I'm going to top myself. Okay, well, Health Pot top myself, but really good mechanic for Brews to know is that when you Purify with really high stagger in a situation like this, it's basically a lay on hands. Like, you're going to full heal yourself. So we use this video as a good example. Self-sustain, healer dead, you know, it's still fine. Misconception that you like absolutely need healing all the time is just not true. You don't really need healing all the time. It just comes in windows. And as a brewmaster, like I said, a big pro is that you feel very in control of your life, your health bar, very stable. If you're dying, it's a very slow and methodical death. You'll be easily in a organized situation, be able to communicate to your healer, hey, I need healing soon, like 5 seconds, like 10 seconds before it even happens, right? And I can say for a fact I've never felt that way when I played like Blood Decay VDH metas. Even my prop paladin is very like a lot of hindsight with the prop paladin. When you die, it's like, damn, I should have had Ardent Defender up there, dang, I should have called for an external there, dang, I kind of need healing there. This is like so much more in control and it feels very nice. Right, so we covered that. Only got 2 more videos here I wanted to look at. So here we're just gonna be able to look at that damage rotation, the min-max of Wu in action. A big thing you're gonna notice is me go for full damage in this video, and we're also gonna see that con of like in the Wu window, I'm not gonna want to use any other globals other than energy globals. I really want to upkeep this against all odds buff, so you'll see me really want to keep this buff. We'll pause it here. We've kept it up for 2 stacks, so you'll see this 20% right here is 20% agility for 5 seconds, and now I have 5 seconds to spend another, you know, X amount of energy to proc my next flurry. What you're also going to notice is how I use Black Ox Brew and my Ox. So weapons order 24. What we're going to look at is when this 6-second Ox from popping Wu ends, we're going to use our Ox after. So we use this Ox a little early, but both Oxes are out right now, 4 seconds and 25. It doesn't like add to the old Ox. Both Oxes are out and they're both going to stomp. I've bottomed out completely my brews, and now what do you guys think is going to happen? Black Ox Brew. And we're probably going to use this Keg Smash to bottom out our energy first and then use it. There's the Keg Smash. Okay, we decided not to because we're going to bottom out our Purify one more time and then use it. There we go. We're going to bottom out our Purify right here and then use it. Exactly what I thought would happen. Now, you guys see the min-max though, right? It's either right after using an energy ability or right after using Purify that I'm going to use the Black Ox Brew. And you just want to get full value of it every time you use it. A really big thing that I'll always want to do is pair Black Ox Brew with Wu. So I'll even not wait, but like this Black Ox Brew actually will come CDRing off first before this Wu comes up. and I will not want to use it unless I absolutely have to live before my woo is up. I'll always want to pair these together because it's just so much damage to pair together, right? You're getting the energy, you're getting those purifies to stomp. It's just, you have to pair them. So here in this video, you'll see I just extend this over and over and over again. This is just 20% agility just getting extended over and over again. I did it again. So you'll see 20% agility buff, still active. Now it fell, and generally will fall right as woo falls. So woo is gone, can't really maintain it anymore. All your damage is kind of gone. What's really nice about the spec is how long and how sustained your damage is. This is 46 seconds into a pull, and I'm sustaining that amount of damage, right? That is super nice. You have no threat issues like other tanks. Some still have threat issues late into a pull. And it really just comes down to, you know, the amount of damage you do by the end of a pull. For some tanks is like, I can tell you right now, my VDH is probably doing 10 million damage right here towards the end of a pull. And yeah, what's really nice is being able to just have weapons for the next pull too. So you'll see here is like, you go into the next pull, I already have weapons up because it's just a minute 20 cooldown, which is a very good pro to have, is that you're just going to go into the next pull with a lot of threat again and a lot of tankiness. All these buffs you get from Shado-pan amounts to just like woo feeling like a 30-second window of not being able to be killed. You're just so tanky. So you'll see here I tag everything, and then I'm gonna, a really big thing you want to do with woo windows is make sure all the mobs are stacked before you pop it. Right here is when I pop it. We wanted all the mobs stacked up for this, because now we're going to double keg and debuff all of them for 16% damage amp, right? Didn't want to use that sooner until all the mobs are in. Now everything's in. Now again, you'll see this is a very important thing. Woo is up, Ox is not. I'm going to use, if I want to do big damn, I'm going to use the Black Ox Brew before this Ox expires and completely bottom out my purifies. So look at my globals here. Purify, Celestial, Black Ox Brew, Purify. Crazy globals. But these are all for damage, and you'll notice it immediately when I'm stomping the fuck out of the mobs here. Like, it's just immediately noticeable. Again, you see me, I exploding kegged into spins, again in min-max. You see the Nijao min-max, the Woo min-max, all those things we talked about taking place in this video here. And I think one of the biggest pros here is, as you can see, a lot of classes in between pulls are kind of piss. And you're just going to be doing like first or second place damage on those in between pulls every time. Versus like, you know, the first pull of dungeon you're doing big damage, the second pull is even bigger for you. At this point you're having that trinket on you stacking up, so these later pulls you're gonna have these weapon windows is just very good. As you see, like Gangnam saying, like, I drop my stacks. When you're doing harder pulls, it's gonna be really hard to keep these stacks active, because you might want to sweep, you might want to use ring, you might want to, you know, the second you use a non-energy global, you're gonna drop that agility 20% and just lose a lot of damage. But I'm saying, even when you play this suboptimally, man, you're still doing a lot more damage than any other tank in the game right now. It's not even close. I can't do these numbers on my paladin, and I can go full glass cannon on my paladin. Oh, this is a good thing to look at too. I have all 4 buffs active right here. Watch this. All 4 buffs are active right now. Crit, dodge, mastery, shadow. All 4 buffs are active right now. Super nice. Like, you're just so tanky in these weapons windows. And this is the third pull of the dungeon where it's like, look at my damage. By the third pull of the dungeon, I'm doing this much. Overall, it's just crazy. You just have damage every pull. Super nice. Even if I go full glass cannon on my paladin, you're not holding a candle to this amount of damage, right? Yeah, went over each video, covered everything I wanted to cover, stats, all that stuff. Anything I used in this video, material used, you know, talents, builds, trinkets, all of it's gonna be shared in my Discord. Hope you guys find something new about the class. Enjoy it as much as I am right now. if you like the video, you can definitely subscribe to the channel, like the video. I'll be trying to create more videos like this in the near future. If you have any additional questions, I definitely will respond in the YouTube comments, but I always will respond to Discord, and my Discord is going to be linked in the description. And we always discuss stuff every day. Every season I put up routes, talents, classes, meta predictions, all that stuff. So if you want to join the conversations, definitely feel free. It's always a lot of fun to have more people join the community. Definitely will share the routes soon. A lot of streamers will paywall their routes or UI or weak auras. I do none of that. I love you guys. I love yapping, as you can see, just sitting here yapping, going over videos. Super fun. But yeah, join the Discord, join the stream anytime. Kind of covers everything I wanted to on the video. Peace out.